Welcome in, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us as it's time to kick off Phase 2. Hope you had a nice little break, but it's time to get it started with the SCL. I'm Aggro. I'll be on your host desk today.
The creativity is about to be flaring between these two teams as we start off in PS4 EU.
So many different items and god changes and all this kind of crazy stuff. I can't wait to see how it all shakes out.
Looking impossible right now. Fatality Fire running circles around this Titan in that Guan Yu Cavalry charge, and well, it's pretty much a sealed deal there for Outcold Gaming.
Game number 3, just like that. You love to see it if you're an Outcold Gaming fan as well. But on the other side, I think we saw some good quality Smite.
Rival trying to take it 2-0 up against their rivals in their region. Let's throw it over to Finch and Tully for the game.
Good work there, Aggro, up against their rivals in the... Good work! That's good stuff there from Aggro. Wow, man, he really is one of the best that we have here. Finch and Tully on the call as we absolutely do move into game number 2.
And Big Money, though, has had a lot of downtime, I think, to kind of hit the drawing board, maybe try to reinvent some of the Season 6 meta that we've seen develop so far between competitive play. And I think even the different meta breakdowns between PC and console have been rather interesting to watch the adaptations that console chooses to draw into their own.
What makes it, real quick, since, you know, everyone's dead, and the Titan's dead as well, what makes Isis just so high in your mind?
What do you want your mid laner to do? Yeah, Isis does all of those better than just about everybody else in the cast.
Very excited to see these guys match up. Let's get to the picks and bans.
I think that he's going to celebrate quite nicely.
That's what it is, man. Cake, it's dessert. And just like that, we see them climb up. Hype Unit looking fantastic in their own world. Nemesis on top of their world. That was the third match that we saw this afternoon. They took easy care of Big Money. Really, just kind of stop.
Yeah, that game, they are what we thought they were.
Happy Monday and welcome to the SMITE Console League. See, this time I got the day right. My name is Finch and I'm happy that you all decided to join us. But don't worry, I'm not alone here on the desk. I am joined by Melissa Takapasato and happy to have you here with me.
Happy to be here, Finch, and happy to see some console action getting started on this Monday.
That's exactly right. We're still in PS4 EU to get things started off here today, so it'll be Arial Arise going up against MV3 Esports. Let's get that schedule up here on the screen. They are our very first set. You can see that the offline match, Outcold versus VGS Gods. That's actually a bit of an upset that Outcold would drop there in that 2-0, so that's a huge win for VGS.
Outcold have definitely been a heavy favorite so far in the PS4 Europe world, but VGS Gods might be looking to take over. It is a new phase after all, Finch.
And well, right now they have indeed taken over. The top spot belongs to them, and neither one of these teams will be able to catch up since they both lost in that first week. It was Arial, I believe, who lost to Outcold last time, so let's see if they can make some improvements here up against MV3 in a match of our two teams are at the bottom, but we're still at the beginning, so it's hard to know exactly where everyone stands.
I think it's still early on enough that consistencies are going to take a little bit of time to develop still for a lot of these teams, but does give us a good telling of some early insight as to where a lot of these teams have transitioned as far as Phase 1 to Phase 2 is concerned.
Yeah, and if you're unfamiliar, still Arial Arise was formerly Bedtime's Calling, and for what I'm looking at here, this looks like all those same players we were familiar with. I talked a lot about SARPEII last phase and what he was able to do for this team out of the jungle. If he can play that same way for them here, then I would expect him to look pretty strong. And we're about to find out, actually. Let's go ahead and move into those picks and bans for game number 1. Taco, we've seen the Xbox, or really just the console scene in general, be a little bit behind where PC is. I don't mean behind in terms of skill. I mean they play differently from how we see PC players oftentimes. You expect that to continue here and see some different stuff?
It's not uncommon to see the console teams have their own adaptations to what we witnessed witnessed from SPL or even SML. But one big thing is I'm not surprised to see that ISIS ban coming out from Arya. I think that it makes a lot of sense trying to prevent a lot of mid-lane early pressure, and the team fight as well that ISIS can provide right now is just so annoying to deal with in the jungle.
You're right, it's support level control with mid-level damage, so she's able to do quite a lot for your team. I agree with Ariel, get her out of there along with the Merlin. So 2 eyes that they've taken towards that mid lane, perhaps in an event or an attempt rather, to try and slow down Kroneka. We'll see if that works for them, as on the other side, MV3 have banned away Set, Morgan, and Thor. I suppose 2 junglers and the Morgan, though Set can go just about anywhere right now.
Some very heavy mid lane focus so far, though. Mavericks are going to have to go a little bit deeper, but they don't seem to mind. They get that Skadi for free, and Finch, we have yet to see a ton of Calder action, but this is a scary pickup already for Mavericks.
Yeah, grab your parkas. It's about to get cold. Skadi does a pretty good job in whatever role that you want to put her in. You talked about how there's all these mid lane bans. I don't know, man. Throw her in mid. I think Skadi's pretty good there. In all honesty, I don't know what mid laner right now can keep up with the control that she gets off that ultimate. I mean, it's a ranged AoE route, and you're oftentimes lose after.
As far as push is concerned, I think that we might see a response here of a Hunter mid, or the Zhong could be the answer that is needed. I do like the tankiness that a Zhong naturally provides, and when dealing with Calder, does have a stun available, so that could be enough to create some distance. But again, Finch, that rooted toss out of Calder, that's the real concern here. Can Ariel really create enough space?
And it's definitely a big deal to get the ultimate, but I'd even be worried pre-level 5, because Skadi doesn't mind using the Calder aggressively, allowing it to die and getting some of that free power that she can then use to outpush you even further. A lot of options for Skadi early on, but we've talked enough about her. The rest of these drafts have started to get rounded out. Jormungandr, Zhong, and Ares there for Ariel. Meanwhile, MV3 have Skadi, Terra, Batz.
Not gonna lie, seeing that Ares has me a little bit convinced here that Mavericks top 3 isn't as detrimental as initially seemed on paper. I mean, you've got Jormungandr and Ares that are going to be fantastic for just non-stop dive potential, and Ares mostly, I think, is there to try and limit the Terra and the Batz simultaneously.
I think so too. They're going to have a difficult time maneuvering around like they normally do up against these crippled chains, if Ares is able to land them, of course. So a lot going to be riding on those shoulders. I imagine this will be Ares in the jungle. That's where we've seen him a good bit here lately, so a good chance he'll be there, as 2 of our mage ADCs are banned away by Ariel, the Freya and the Soul, and they already banned away the Kronos earlier, so all 3 off the table.
Chernobog's going to be a really nice flavor pickup here, though. Providing the global out of the living nightmare could be the make or break, I think, between these early game team fights. And when you have a Zhong and Ares, you're looking to start things off at the beginning.
And this, now that the Jing Wei comes in too, should pretty much confirm that it is the Skadi in the middle lane, especially with Kumbhakarna picked up as the actual support for this team. So now, between Chern and Zhong, which one do you want in the middle lane up against the Skadi? Is it Zhong that you want there? I mean, it feels like you guys have to get a little bit closer to the wave to really clear it.
I don't think I'd be upset with either of those options. Both the Chernobog and the Zhong, I think, have decent enough clear that they won't be too heavily outpressured by the Skadi, at least not enough that it'll be free invades for Mavericks. They're going to have to work for that map pressure.
Well, they've added a Nike to the roster here for Ariel. That adds just an unkillable target on here now. Sentinel of Zeus is so much. If she builds a Pride Wind, that's this whole team, right? Who do you murder on this team? They add the Pride Wind, even more health, and it's just going to be difficult for him as we're ready to move into game MV3 versus Arial Arise. It's time for the casters.
That's it. It's time. Me and Toli here bringing you the noises, and Doug bringing you the visuals. OhMyJhox here on the Jungle Monkey. Love to see it. And across the way, we've got SARPEII on the jungle Ares. These characters are kind of... It's interesting, Toli. I think of them in similar ways, in the sense that they're both very demanding of beads, and they're both kind of the pillar around with which their teams are going to work with.
I think that the difference between these two is just the basic attacks. Definitely Jhox will be favored because of the passive on the Batz. Also, Batz gets online a little bit later than the Ares.
Oh, yeah.
Ares more mechanically demanding, and we've seen this before, actually, in the minor league and the pro league. It was Chapo out of Space Station Gaming Gold, and then Scream playing it as well with a very convincing victory.
Like most Guardians in the jungle, Ares is going to start things off early, like you said, leaning on the base damage, particularly from the chains. And really what's allowed this Ares to come through if you missed the mid-season patch is to change the amount of damage his flames do. It's all percent health. And so that really speeds up the clear on his side. So the clear is what allows Ares to come in here. He's always had that early game damage, and he's always going to chain, walk you down.
Ares went through a lot of different stages and evolutions there, but this invade, though, SARPEII looking for the flank. He's level 2 against a level 1 and a 2.
Now, he was sitting there by himself, and that was a little scary at first. But his team able to make the rotation. The flames are good on the Kino. Substitute, by the way. So as Arial Arise trying to focus him down, off screen, it's GunTeR Warrior that falls down. First blood for MV3. Still, Arial trying to fight the fight, but Jing with the rotation is bad news. SARPEII got the flames out, but his life bar is going down. Big shot coming out from the Skadi, and the stun is good enough. RayoMid takes another one, 2 for the mid leader on MV3. Substitute, by the way.
A great hold and defense from MV3, defending their own red buff. I like the ambition, though, coming through from SARPEII, trying to go for that kill onto Kino. He was a level 1 Terra, but I think he killed one of the small red Ogre minions, hitting level 2, getting that extra health and protections, barely being able to survive that encounter. And also RayoMid preventing the rotation from GunTeR Warrior, finding and isolating this Chernobog before he gets the global pressure is a way to shut him down.
Raid being surrounded here by 2, but no real hard commit there. Oh, scratch that. Dash is good, answered with a stun. And this could be damage, but Kino a little bit too timid. So because of that, Zhong able to walk away. You know, last exchange, Anatoly, SARPEII walked to the red buff by himself, and that was a little scary. And then I saw him look for the hide around and wait for his team to collapse. But that was the problem, was the fact that Rayo, like you said, just blocked off GunTeR. If Arial Arise actually had made that rotation, that's a completely different story. I think we see 2-0 in red. But it was all for Rayo. Really good zoning there coming out from the mid lane.
And not only that, the difference between a level 2 Ares versus a level 3 Ares is just insane between the damage of the chains alone. At level 1, you're dealing like 25 damage a tick. Level 2 chains, you're dealing 45 damage a tick. Almost double already, so that's the difference of finding first blood or not. It was, you could see how low that Terra was, even with just level 1 chains.
And that's the big difference. Level 4 now, so SARPEII should be able to make some more moves. Level 5, we'll see a drastic difference, just like the monkey.
And it's not as if like SARPEII missed a chain either. Like he hit all 3 chains. He even squeezed a basic attack between the chains like you're supposed to do. So great mechanical demonstration of how you're supposed to coordinate those basics between those chains. He just needs to get a higher level next time. More calculating maybe.
Yeah. Interesting mentality for sure. SARPEII looking for a secondary shot, but right now we're just going to see the group up. And this is what we've seen out of Team today when things are kind of conservative, honestly. You don't want to go to gank too much of a lane. We just see this group up with the jungle, the mid, and the support. And this kind of keeps things more sensitive around the mid lane. If you've got any mid lane friends, I'm sure you've heard them complain about that.
Yeah, the triple splitting. We don't hear the end of it from the green room. Aggro over there always complaining about the triple splitting.
But
that's where the action is. You know, there's just so many avenues to do from that mid lane between the mid camps, the oracles, Pyromancer, Gold Fury, red buff is very popular these days. You know, blue buff, purple buff, not so much. They're out of season.
Red buff has kind of always been popular, I think. I think when, you know, every season, I think everybody likes to lead with their best red buff look, you know?
Yeah, red is definitely in.
Synergizes well with the purple builds that you see.
The royal
mid lane mages, and even red and brown go together well. A lot of the physical hunter builds, the transcendence, the warrior tabby. It's gonna vibe well as well for the fall, August.
That's right.
Anatoly, beginning of one of my favorite descriptions of August is the Sunday of the summer.
That's right. And blue is a little bit like more depressing of a color, right? Like it's definitely
it's
a cooler chill, like more of like a winter flare, not really the summer that we're in right now. So I understand why all these players in all 3 leagues, console, minor league, and even pro league, going for the red.
Absolutely. SARPEII here, clearing the red for his moment. He's RayoMid that picks that one up. The Kumbhakarna in the solo lane. Not something we see all that often, but actually something that I wish we saw more of. OhMyJhox is going to get his ultimate jumped over, and so the answer back is a pull from SARPEII. Trouble for Kino as they find themselves half HP. And OhMyJhox is going to look to turn it around. The Terra's still in trouble. Dashes from left to right, and that'll get her out of jail. Raid makes the rotation, Jhox will fall down, but Almighty gets two, one with the ultimate and one with the belly bump. After that comes Kana. The big ultimate is going to be good enough. Rayo escapes.
Oh,
Arial
no.
Arise with only one.
Oh no, not able to get that second turnaround kill, but Beast without his ultimate still having the agility to escape. Great rotation from both soul laners, but miscalculating that third World Serpent hit. It should have been an even 2 for 2, but I like these rotations. Both the players were very mindful about how they were able to capitalize. Jhox being able to beat away from SARPEII's ultimate, even though Kino gets pulled in. That Terra's Blessing provides so much mitigation and also decreasing the enemy's damage that he survived long enough for that solo lane rotation to be an important factor.
That didn't even have to be a fight, which was crazy. OhMyJhox goes in, looks for the Fear No Evil, and Nike jumps away from it. It was awesome. That was it. It was over. But SARPEII, I guess, at the right time, goes to the reinitiation, grabs Kino. It takes too long to kill the support. If the support dies earlier, none of that happens.
And I think they were going for the beads burning onto Jhox more than trying to kill Kino. They thought that, like, oh, he got pulled anyway. Let's see what happens, right? Like, he hits, I think, all 3 chains, narrowly avoids the stun, so he continues to flame. So the DPS was certainly there, but currently at level 7 Ares with surprisingly Shoes of Focus as opposed to Shoes of Magi for penetration, didn't have the damage necessary. If that was Shoes of Magi, maybe that's a kill. Extra penetration, a little bit more power, wouldn't have hurt.
Shoes of Focus will allow the Ares to get more ultimates off, which of course is a big, big deal. Ares less of an...
Doing his best Scream impersonation there.
You know, getting the most out of those cooldown boots,
That's
making
true.
sure to use every cooldown. Jokes aside, I mean, Ariel, I think, is less of an ult bot, especially in the mid game, than the Batz, believe it or not. I think early game at level 5, 6, 7, Batz, listen, you're not getting a kill with an overhand smash and a monkey shots. A Fear No Evil is what gets you the kill, and usually you need help from the rest of the team. So when I see All Out, when I see first sight of Yeoman's Wrath, I'm like, okay. If there were cooldown boots on physicals still, I'd go, okay. But with Ares, I mean, you're doing the damage. That's a lot of what you're bringing to the table in this early game. A little problematic. Nike has to use her ultimate to get on out of there. Well timed. And MV3 burn, not all that much. Kino and Rayo wind up tossing their ultimates into the fire, but Dragon King gets out. That's a big deal.
Jhox still has his ultimate. He's going to try to use it now onto GunTeR with the Purification Beads. Just able to survive. Great root coming out of Kino, but just no damage follow-up. And I think it's a little too early to force an objective off of those low health bars.
I got to agree there. Poor positioning from Warrior, though. Just didn't like what GunTeR was thinking there. In the wrong spot. Luckily for him and his teammates, he gets out of jail, no problem. But not going to be a great look going forward if that's the positioning. With all that said, Toli, everything has been looking like the Mavericks up and down. They've got 4 kills versus 1, but the gold lead is actually on the other side. As small as it may be, 800, it's more worth illustrating the fact that MV3 got a first blood and multi-kills after that, and we're still not really tilted in their favor.
Some of that comes down to the Totem of Coup differential. With the 4 extra coming from Ariel, that's 500 gold total going to the Chaos side. You can count that up and log it, but I think a lot of the advantages are leaning towards this long lane. Looking at a little bit of action onto Kino again.
This time there's plenty of Arial Arise members, and Zhong certainly a little stronger this time. You liked that execution a little better.
Level 9, and I guess 4-on-1 doesn't hurt. Terra's Blessing wasn't available.
Dash away is always beast. Zhong did not use the ultimate in that fight. Not willing to dive the tower as Jhox finds trouble in the mid lane. Beads burned. No ultimate available. So Arial Arise lets the jungler get on out of here. Zhong doesn't want to fight. No mana.
No,
unable to
not at
really
all.
make that conversion.
The agility gave enough movement speed to run away from that ultimate that Raiden did use, trying to just poke out Beast and try to delay the stacking, I think is what he's doing. I don't want to really think that Raiden believes he can get the kill. It's about the little things.
Warriors HP bar is one of those little things. Rayo just kind of pushes the buttons. No real fancy play there, folks. GunTeR just, again, wrong place, wrong time. Rayo again, the substitute. 3-0-2, 100% participation. It kills, start objectives.
Yeah, good synergy between the mid and the jungle, forcing the beads, and now that one pick leading towards a Gold Fury.
Jhox drops the ultimate on the top side. That forces Maverick a little bit to the top side. Now the full release. GunTeR still in trouble. Uses the double dash, but the spear is good. One more shot will find it. The doggy not able to get there. Beautiful play by the Nike. That's the change, baby. And Nike keeps the mid laner at bay and lets GunTeR get away. Nice play there from DragonKingJagia.
You gotta respect the shield, and now the turnaround play. SARPEII looking for something, anything. Beats are down, will be pulled, chains are good.
There's 3 chains in the last hit.
That's a double.
From SARPEII, double kill for the Ares jungle. Jhox is here, knocked up, great jump from the Nike. 2 players here from MV3, but 3 from Arial. Kumbhakarna knocks one to the sky. SARPEII at 10%, overhand expansion's good, but Kana makes the rotation count, and the jungler dies 5-5 as Arial Arise tie up the kill count and take a little bit of a gold lead and look to extend it by way of the gold field.
Kana needs to zone out Albmighty. A level 13 Kumbhakarna has a lot of damage here, using the knockup after the groggy strike. Beast on the backhand side, but the Chaos side gets it.
DragonKing's in trouble, still jumps forward to save his carry. Knockup is strong, nobody can catch up to either of them.
No
DragonKing and Raiden are good, and here comes Kana for the zone. One knockup is strong, chains, flames, we'll see you later. It's all about the Snake Man. Double knockup, and the fight continues. GunTeR dies on the outside. DragonKing is still here, and MV3 are just dying to the World War.
The double Guardians are showing their damage. DragonKing even making a little bit of an influence. Albmighty yawning away. A free Gold Fury, only losing 1, which was GunTeR Warrior in place of 3 members. A great way to get mid-game control from Arial Arise. And it all started with that one pick onto RayoMid. I think that SARPEII was trying to do a little bit too much, trying to be too fancy with his ultimate, but eventually he's like, all right, I guess I'll settle for the beadsless Skadi in the mid lane.
He walked in there, and we both went, what?
Yeah, he was
What
just
are you
like,
doing?
he's trying to get a double pull there, and I get that, but sometimes you just got to take any opportunity you can get there. And once he did get the pull, his teammate was trying to bail him out. Kino was right there. The mechanics from SARPEII, he double chains Rayo, and then his third chain, I think, was deliberately onto Kino instead.
Oh no! And sometimes that happens. Earlier in the game, Coley and I both kind of lamented the blue boots choice here for SARPEII, thinking the purple would go better with his outfit. But, you know, you're going to miss a couple of ults.
Yeah.
Some extra ults won't.
It's the threat. It's like, I'm so scary that I'm just going to, like, do this right here.
Look at that! Soloed! Oh, man, so close.
If that was Shoes of Mad Guy, he's dead.
Yeah, that's true.
100%
That's
dead.
true. SARPEII going for the late game, of course. In the later stages of the game, the Ares damage will not be as effective. And so he'll have access to a couple more of those ultimates more often. Team fight synergy for sure.
And it's also the cripple. The Ares was picked after the Terra was already locked in. So this is a nice idea to not only, you know, do the new flair of the Ares changes into the jungle from the mid-season patch, but it's also logistically to counter what MV3 are trying to do. Terra is a big threat when she's able to dash through that monolith and create that damaging field and also to root players in place.
I think Ares is kind of an evergreen jungler in the sense that kind of pick Ares no matter what, right? Kana gets forced. I think he really is just that good. He should just be a staple choice. And the difference between some of the other junglers that work when you look at, say, a bracket or Ymir, which are more specific, is the fact that his ultimate is a guaranteed beads burner, early game, mid game, late game. That's what makes him evergreen, I think. But where he's really going to shine, where you're going to want to pick him more so than others, is exactly what you mentioned. When you're able to use that cripple, you look at OhMyJhox, Kino, and oExBeast. All three of these characters really, really, really need their dashes. Kino needs to dash to do the whole thing. Yeah. That's what Terra does.
Even Albmighty needs that belly bump as well to provide the pain. So, and whenever you can get extra bang out of your buck, never a bad thing. SARPEII gonna get displaced a little bit, but a counter pull.
This is 3 players, and 2 of them get grabbed. Double knockup from the Nike. Trouble is Mighty finds an offensive play, and SARPEII will go down thanks to the assist from the support. Rotating over is Kana, but he's a little bit late. Here comes in the Zhong as well, blinking over the wall. Almighty in the passive, and landing down will be the Hunter. Down will go the support. 9 kills in total for Arial Arise. A 4-on-4 as they look at the Tier 1 tower.
Looks like Ariel's a little bit healthier, though. They can easily siege this Tier 1 tower if they choose to, but Red is in this season. They're looking for that buff invade, maybe looking for an isolation target. Kana rotated a little bit late to that fight, but once he did, they were at least able to trade out 1-for-1 as SARPEII will revive before Albmighty.
Those are fun moments for the team in the lead. Arial Arise up 4,000 gold here. You look for that red buff, and you just dare somebody, and if somebody trips over their shoelaces or literally takes one step too far, you kill him, you go for the secondary objective. You see the Oni Fury about to respawn in about 20 seconds or so. A little bit early for where I really want to get the Oni Fury. I think in a couple of minutes, you kill the Oni Fury, and then you walk directly to the Fire Giant because the enemy has to deal with it. At 17, the enemy still has to deal with it, but we're kind of halfway in the laning phase still, so like, who cares?
And not only that, at 17.5 minutes, you're only getting 1 big Gladiator melee minion as opposed to 20 minutes when 2 of those big ones will spawn, so you're getting more value out of that Oni Fury if you wait a little bit longer.
And you know, that's really where I wanted to anchor it down, because 17 minutes means so many different things. It depends on the game, right? 17 minutes, just last week, if you watched the Pro League, 17 minutes was where some teams were pushing to win the game. Now, at that 17 minutes, get an Oni Fury. But the point that you brought up was really important. Every 10 minutes, one of those front minions basically evolves. It goes from a Magikarp to a Gyarados. And so you got to watch out for that. 20 minutes is definitely a big point. Arial Arise want what they want, and they want it now, though.
SARPEII still having the ultimate. Arial Arise get a free Gold Fury. It was weird to see JhoX use that ultimate onto SARPEII alone with no follow-up.
Well, SARPEII certainly gets one, and JhoX is able to fall down.
No beats.
No beads available. 10 seconds, they'll be off cooldown. So Arial Arise, man, they get their cake and they eat it too. The Oni Fury goes down. They'll be getting some minions for that. They invade on the red buff, and now it's just cleanup time. They're singing the song, man. They'll be looking at a Tier 1 tower, whatever is picked up. And MV3 will just have to kind of watch.
And MV3 had a ward at the Gold Fury. It was a Sentry ward, but the problem was they didn't have vision on the outside perimeter of the Gold Fury, around the purple buff, around the red buff, to get into those avenues. So that's why they were being a little bit reserved going in.
The ultimate from Skadi in the mid lane, but Kino's the one getting blown up. Raid turns around and actually exercises the Aegis of the mid lane Hunter. Down it goes, but the trade is good. Mid lane for carry. Now, looking at oExBeast, defensively ultimates, and Kino's in trouble. Kana's going to go in the ultimate, turns around, and looks to help his team. He went aggressive, would have found the kills, but instead goes the other way, and JhoX is able to capitalize on Warrior. Kana now taking the brunt of everybody's damage, and Arial Arise finally pushing in. The Tier 1 tower could be the focus. Dragon King going to tank, but these are 3 Guardians. They do have the Fire Giant, and it'll help. Tier 1 tower toasted, but they lost the 2 carries.
But I don't think MV3 can get anything from that, because of how low health bar. In fact, if they keep staying around like this, they're going to die. SARPEII right around the corner, Kana, and also Dragon King. This has to be a chase F dot. They need to find at least one more, but instead they're going to be a little conservative, knowing RayoMid respawning is going to be there before GunTeR Warrior will.
This Arial Arise composition is real interesting. SARPEII here looking for RayoMid. A little bit tankier. Has some procs thanks to the Magi.
Mostly health.
But when it comes to Arial Arise, what you're looking at here is Kana, SARPEII, and DragonKing are incredibly difficult to kill. They are doing a lot of the killing as well. I mean, that's top damage is out of your soul in Jormungandr. But GunTeR Warrior and Raidunw aren't staying alive. So what you're getting is a scenario where MV3 can't kill Arial Arise because they're 3 quasi-frontline, quasi-backline. Their warriors are just kind of doing it. But the carries are dead, so Arial Arise can't respond after the fact. So we have this weird stalemate, and that's how you break it. MV3 isolating one of the tanks, and now they've got the wind in their sails looking for the Pyro.
The problem was that Raidunw wasn't there, so Arial Arise didn't want to fully commit to the Pyromancer, and with that separation, RayoMid now isolated alone, dies to Raidunw.
Nice trade for sure. MV3 without their Skadi, who's been the majority of their damage so far. Almighty on the back line looking for, again, that mid lane warrior. It's a hunter, besides the point. SARPEII, chains, grabs one, Kino's there, but it's GunTeR Warrior that falls down. JhoX jumps to the outside, he's got no ultimate, and pretty much out of the team fight altogether. Raidunw on the chase. OhMyJhox here, he just is one shot. Last shot good. The agility, one step ahead of him. Should be a disengaged, Jolie. I don't want to see more.
Hard to say, though, because after Raidunw got the kill onto JhoX, he's feeling confident after that. He wants a little bit more. This level 20 Zhong, 4.5 items deep, is looking really strong. In fact, he can even rotate to the left lane if he wanted to assist pushing that tower.
I was worried about the mana level. That's why I like to see that disengage. Zhong with a hair of mana. That's enough for rotation, 2 rotations of spells, if that. And I think MV3 would have required a little bit more. So with that disengage, we have 22.5 on the clock, and Arial Arise up 2 kills, 13-11. The gold lead telling the story as well, 4,000 gold in the way of Arial Arise, something that they never really let go of. MV3 had gotten a couple of kills early game, and kill-wise was ahead, despite the fact that SARPEII playing the earlier game character, arguably, than the Batz. But Arial Arise looked for a couple of invades, found a win here and there, were the first to get an objective, and continuously, like you mentioned, Toli, got the Totem of Coup. That kind of kept them not just in step, but almost ahead, and now they've really solidified this 4,000 gold lead.
Yeah, it was MV3 with a 4-1 kill lead, and then since then, Arial Arise went on a 12-7 run, so making the presence felt, even zoning out JhoX while they're doing the Fire Giants.
75%, so I think this needs appeal. SARPEII coming up the top, got 2 players with him, won't grab any, but force out the ults. SARPEII down to 10, this is going to be a kill. MV3 takes him down, but it's oHMyJhox that goes down first. oHMyJhox and SARPEII both eat it, and now it's a 4-on-4. JhoX in trouble, Kana on the charge, and GunTeR Warrior contributes, finds his 3rd kill of the contest. Kino zoned down to the left side. Arial Arise return to the Fire Giant. RayoMid, split pushing, and I like that call. I think this Fire Giant is too tall of a task. And this RayoMid push on the left side, they're gonna get a Phoenix Anatoly. It forces Arial Arise to back. Almighty's not gonna stop the GunTeR Warrior, and that will stop the push on the left side. Toli, if you're coaching, are you mad that MV3 did not stop those backs? Is that an all-in?
No, I don't think that's an all-in because they were so separated. You're not going to stop everyone's back, and honestly, if you do cancel their backs, I don't even know if this level 18 Skadi is going to get it right off the bat. The minions were dying very quickly, but a good performance regardless. They got what they needed, which was stopping the Fire Giant, getting the tier 1, getting the tier 2 tower, getting levels on RayoMid. He was level 15 before that push even started to begin with, when he was defending his own tier 2 tower, trying to take advantage of it. Arial Arise forced a 5-on-4 on the right side, but the problem was GunTeR Warrior, he didn't do enough damage onto the Fire Giant. He's just doesn't have the items quite yet. He's also going for a defensive build with a Mag Ice Cloak.
I'm looking at blue team. Yeah, do that Gold Fury. Do that. Oh, no. I would have loved that. Let's take a look at the graphs already. 2,000 gold has been cut from this 4,000 gold lead. And if they get that Gold Fury, it's a tie game. There's no reason that MV3 couldn't have gotten that with both of their carries there. Oh, man, coulda, shoulda, woulda. Yeah. Missed opportunities abound. Now, that said, we have the luxury of having the bird's eye view MV3 afraid that Arial Arise is on the Fire Giant. MV3 afraid that Arial Arise is coming to them on the Gold Fury. A large lack of vision from the blue team. There are 0 blue wards on the map, so that might be why they were a little trigger shy.
Could be a tier 2 tower dive. Thinking about it was Kana now jumping in as Dragon King. The pull gonna be from SARPEII, catching out Albmighty.
There's a knockup, and Dragon King gonna be on the outside looking in. Kino all the way on the outside. Jhox alive, but just barely. The ultimate from Kana used to initiate this conversation. With that said, the tier 2 tower goes down. Nice job. And Arial Arise pick up 1. They're gonna back off again. MV3 had their moment, Anatoly, and they just let it slip.
The way Arial Arise are able to really separate everyone from MV3 is really impressive. SARPEII leading the charge alongside Kana in not just this instance, but many ones before this, allowing themselves to get a 1,500 gold from that tier 2 tower and possibly even a Fire Giant.
Oh, the blink in. Jhox is on the backside, 10% of the Fire Giant. This could be a steal if played well. RayoMid takes out one off screen. Here comes the Skadi. RayoMid gets another one. RayoMid gets the Fire Giant, and RayoMid trying to battle it out. Almighty knocks one to the sky. Beast gets 1. Beast gets another. 2 for each hunter. And SARPEII will be the only one alive. MV3 snatch away the gold lead, the Fire Giant, the lives of everybody. Tully, what do they call that?
They're going to be a DSI now for Arial Arise to have to recollect their thoughts. MV3 with the game in their control, in their grasp. They're going to go for the end even potentially with this left side Phoenix being exposed.
I love this call. I'm not sure about the end, but the idea, you've got the minions right here. Forget about the tier 2 tower. Go directly to the Phoenix. I love this idea. Dragon King's up in 3 seconds, Anatoly. You were right. They are going to go for it. Kana's up in 5 seconds. Dragon King is alive now. 80% of the Titans so far. That's 60, and they're still pushing. Arial Arise, they had the game in their hands. Is this the throw, or is MV3 giving it back to them? 10%, 5%. Almighty's there. The damage is good enough, and MV3 take it, shove it, and win it.
Despite being 17-17, MV3, they received an inch and they made it a complete mile just like that. The ambition and boldness coming through from the Chaos side in that last play was just a little bit too much.
I did not expect, you call it, and I want to know why you call it. How did you know they were going to end?
Well, because of the respawn timers, even with all 5 dead, there was still like going to be a defense there, Sentinel of Zeus available for the Nike player, but with just 2 players, also I believe it was the Soul Laner that revived alongside a Guardian, it's not enough damage really to stop any thwarts of the Titan Siege.
Not enough damage, not enough, I don't know what, man. I got to recover. We'll be right back with Game 2. Stay tuned for more console action.
The sky for demise. Scattered into the stars. I did not foresee.
And welcome back to the SMITE Console League. Finch here yet again. As that first game to get things started off, I have Taco here with me. She's going to help me break these things down. That first game that started off, man, was really close. I actually thought Arial had found a way to turn that back around. They had about a 3 to 4K gold lead, but really you lose one fight around the FG and the other team has 2 hunters on it,
Yeah.
and your game could be over that fast.
And that was the problem, really, was just all that push potential between that double hunter composition and Mavericks just looking to take full advantage of it. And as good as of a job I think that Arial did, especially when you factor in the early game, that Skadi really got off to a pretty strong start there. A lot of early aggressive invades coming through from Maverick side of things. So to see Arial actually manage to recover, even if they might have lost it all in, like, by the end of it, the fact that they show signs of life despite that rough early game definitely tells me that this team could definitely make a comeback.
I think so too. They certainly showed us some potential here. It's just a bit of a problem that fight around the Fire Giant ended up being so sloppy from them. And then that MV3 had the awareness to make the call. They burned down that left side Phoenix, moved right into the Titan. Even though it was close, they were able to clean up that game. So now it's time for game number 2. Let's get those picks and bans on the screen. It will be Arial Arise in the first pick position here this time, Taco, and maybe some adjustments to be made. I know that in the end it was MV3 who won. Maybe Arial, though, want to try and take away that Skadi and not let that early game happen again.
Definitely think that a Skadi ban could be warranted at this stage, and considering how quickly Mavericks were able to siege out, I think that Arial in general is going to be on the lookout for another double hunter composition. Maybe look to strip away some of the Guardian options that make that composition ideal.
That's right. Kumbhakarna provided so much control. It was all the room that they needed in order to be able to land plenty of autos or whatever it is that moves them on that scenario. I mean, I talked about how I didn't like the Jing into the Zhong in that long lane matchup, and despite losing some of that pressure, it still worked out for them either way. So maybe they will indeed look to go back to it, as this time the Skadi is banned by Arial Arise. They don't want to see it. Instead, they will pick up the Zhong.
No real surprises here either to see the responses from Mavericks, choosing to keep that Thor and Isis locked away. Same thing for the Set. Set still posing too much of a threat for Mavericks to want to deal with it, but they're going to look for the safety option, really liking this Jing. This tells me it feels a little bit more like a comfort pick at this phase, Finch, because if that is a Zhong that's intended to be in the hunter role here for Arial Arise, then I am a little bit suspectful that this Jing isn't so much to beat out the Zhong in lane so much as it is just to survive.
That's what it feels like, maybe just to try and tread water. We saw that happening last game as these Anhurs picked up. To me, that does signal that we'll very likely be seeing the Zhong in the long lane and the Anhur in the mid lane instead. And they're going to pair that with a Khepri, a very strong Guardian right now. He's kind of risen up in terms of value. The Scarab's Blessing is just so good into a lot of that single target burst.
And considering the fact that Mavericks actually opted for the Susano, this Khepri control could be the restrictive factor that Mavericks might have to keep an eye out for. That Scarab's Blessing, if it's able to come in clutch at the right time there for the Zhong or even the Anhur, going to make things a lot more difficult, I think, for Mavericks to try and actually work around this Zhong. That's for sure, because Arial's Zhong can now afford to go for a blink, maybe, look to be that initiating factor. We've seen that oftentimes from, I think, a little bit more on the PC side of things. As for console, though, I would love to see this Zhong try to be a little bit more proactive here.
I think that there's a really good chance, just based on early pressure already. I'm really feeling the Zhong on her as opposed to the Jing, Terra, Susano that's been picked up by MV3. Susano could be a nightmare, of course, but that feels a little bit more to me like levels 9 and 10 or something like that. I mean, Anhur and Zhong, they're ready to play right away.
It is a little bit of ramp-up time here, and that's what I think that King Arthur is picked up for Mavericks, to have a little bit of that early game presence. We know how much pressure Arthur can actually contain inside of that solo lane, and if he is able to be a solo lane bully, then that could alleviate some of this pressure off of the Jing and Terra that's going to need some of that ramp-up time through farm.
And then they add in the Osiris eras. I don't know, Taco. I mean, you're right about King Arthur, but Osiris, Lord of the Afterlife, if he picks up Contagion for some of that anti-heal in that matchup, he actually feels pretty darn good into King Arthur. And you add the Ares, that cuts off what Terra, Susano, and King Arthur all want to do. I mean, Arial might have just gotten a better team. Just how I'm seeing it. It looks like a pretty good draft.
This is a really sick composition from Arial, and I don't even think their Game 1 draft was that awful, but it's definitely going to be a tough one for Mavericks.
And keep an eye on that Hera that just got locked in last for Mavericks. It's time for Tom and Toby.
Mavericks took game number 1. Arial Arise has yet to rise to the occasion. We'll see if they can change things up. Tully, how are you feeling for game number 2?
I'm not feeling too bad for Arial, honestly. From that loss, you can't blame it on really the composition, how they played the early game, how they played the mid game. It all really comes down to that one Fire Giant call that they couldn't execute. The damage wasn't there from GunTeR on the Chernobog in game 1. Playing the Chernobog, he wasn't full build. He also had a Mad Guy's Cloak defensively for a good reason to deal with the Hunbats, but they just didn't have the damage too early.
I found GunTeR was, it's interesting because, well, the team lost. Clearly they had to have done something wrong. They would have won despite the fact that I'm bringing up if that Fire Giant fight went differently. But GunTeR Warrior, I think, was a big Achilles heel for this team. He really didn't was out of position often. He was really what kept MV3 in the game at all. So for Arial Arise to lose to that Fire Giant in that moment, you're right. It was kind of just one of those situations where, frankly, if I'm a coach, I'm lying a little bit to my team and saying there was nothing you can do. It happens. But in reality, there are a couple of things that Arial Arise could have done beforehand, but to not even allow MV3 in that position. So, you know, depending on how critical you want to be, I'm glad at the end of the day that Warrior is on the Anhur now instead of the Chernobog. You lose that global,
sure.
But I think more, can I say, fightability? You know what I mean with that?
Yeah. Just more feistiness coming through.
He can just get up on there.
And I think both of the hunters in the mid lane were struggling, honestly, because of the jungle mid synergy between the two, forcing beats between either Ares or the Hunbats. There was multiple instances where the Skadi would follow up after a Hunbat's ultimate, forcing the beats, or vice versa, where the Ares ultimate would force the beats, and then all of a sudden, RayoMid was in a lot of trouble.
Raidunw's in a lot of trouble here. Kino's gonna miss the stun.
Uh-oh, turn around.
That's actually a big deal. Oh, the Exorcism out of range, and now Beast has the upper hand. They'll both walk away.
A very important beat to prevent the slow.
Yep.
And that's the only thing that put him out of range of that Exorcism.
Which is crazy. I mean, that's why I say it's poor to have absolute rules.
Sure.
I feel like it's easy to say you should never beat that slow. But right there. Looking for the play one more time. No beats that time. So Beast just takes the damage. Both carries will back to base. MV3 grouped up largely on the right side for the blue buff. Arial Arise grouped up in mid, looking for the Harpies.
I like the fact that Raidunw's able to hold his own in a 1v2. Never an easy task as a Zhong before you get the passive stacks, before you get these tanky items online. Building a little differently than most Zhong going for the Mage's Blessing, going for the Shoes of Focus, as opposed to the Penetration, which favors you a little bit when you have a lot of damage over time abilities, but I respect the ability to have extra mana and more cooldown reduction for these longer drawn-out team fights.
Once that Mage's Blessing is done, you'll be at half the cap.
That's right, 20% total.
So nice look there if you want looking to cycle your abilities. And again, remember from SARPEII, we saw the cooldown boots earlier as well. That could sort of let you know what Arial Arise are looking to do. Team fight all the time. Because that's exactly what these two characters have in common, is the fact that they're team fight ultimates. And if you're getting your blue boots, that means you're just every 50 seconds we want to blink in, cause a problem. And that's kind of what we saw out of Arial Arise, a real focus on those team fights. Mid lane could be one of them right now. You know, in a good spot, then a bad spot, then a good spot. Able to really get out of there. No problem for the support.
I think it was fine. GunTeR Warrior still having to deal with 3 archers right outside his tower line, but the biggest differential that I'm seeing is the solo lane here, honestly. This Osiris is getting the better end of the King Arthur thus far, getting 3 Totem of Coups, winning the experience department, and also not having to use as many Health Chalice stacks.
Very different, though, is Almighty now that he's finished the Glad Shield. Glad Shield is really the turning point for a King Arthur. Before that, not really going to do much. That's a lie. Before that, Arthur has everything except for the sustain in his kit. The sustain is the #1 thing you think about when it comes to Arthur. So you can say that he doesn't. But, like, that fight is going to be a lot different before and after that Glad Shield, for sure.
I agree. I think that both of them can definitely juke it out. And it's a lot easier to juke out an Osiris abilities as opposed to an Arthur's abilities that have just much more AoE behind the punch. Last game, Raidunw was the one with the experience lead, but this time around, it's Beast being able to get the better end of it, despite having multiple times assistance from his support, Kino, even helping out with the Oracles whenever he has the time.
Vision goes to MV3. MV3 where he's going to get pulled on the right side. SARPEII makes a visit to the solo lane, chaining up the King Arthur. Cripple, one of the more powerful abilities versus the King Arthur. And it will be good enough. The last hit goes to the solo lane off of the assist of SARPEII. Beautiful play there. And the Ares into the King Arthur. You'll love to see it.
Albmighty using that Excalibur's Wrath for the poke. No CC immunity without the Purification beads. A good communication between the jungler and solo laner. We don't see those ganks happen often, but when they do, it just looks so good.
Here's the gank on the left side. It looks good for Raidunw. Dodges that one ultimate, but here comes the jungler. It's a 3-on-1. Raidunw might have been able to handle the 2-on-1. The 3-on-1 certainly different. Typhoon comes out of JhoX. And that'll be in.
No way. The
Kill.
lazy
SARPEII
backs.
goes up. That's trouble. Beads are used, though. That should be an escape.
All right, JhoX did have the Purification beads to jet stream away into safety, but that was a little unnecessary, I felt, to even take all that damage to begin with. Now he's going to be without those speeds for 140 seconds. Plenty of time for SARPEII to come back with that ultimate that was not used too long ago in the solo lane.
That is absolutely a moment where you're saying something in chat. You are saying beads, time,
Yep.
go.
160 seconds. You got to know that timer.
You're saying 160 seconds in the cooldown in your ult, and SARPEII is going to be there.
Oh yes, definitely needing to provide that presence to the left side of the map after he already showed it on the right side. A little bit off the mark there was GunTeR Warrior. Not using that ultimate either. RayoMid, rather low, is in lethal range of just her Desert Fury alone, but not the easiest task to hit all the spears on the Anhur.
It really isn't. Recently changed to some more efficient, I'd say. What's your percentage hit? You hit 10 out of 10?
I don't think it's 10. You mean like 100% in general?
There you go.
No, I definitely missed one. At least one. I
Just
never
one?
hit all of them.
SARPEII looking for the aggressive pinch. Will grab JhoX. Doesn't have beads, remember. And there's the chains. No more pull. There's a beautiful chain coming out from the Bugman as well. And that was it, man. That
Talked about
was beautiful.
It was the little mistake earlier that led to that playmaking opportunity. If you clean up those little things, you don't give up that weakness, the opening opportunity for your opponents to take advantage of you. And you know JhoX is definitely kicking himself after he was like, man, I shouldn't have lazy backed earlier to have to use my beats to survive that.
Well, that's the fun part about playing a character like Ares. You can do the same on the Batz. I mean, honestly, you could probably do the same on the Susano, in that if you don't have beads, I win. Right?
True.
Not every character is like that, but when you have a character like that, SARPEII, knowing JhoX's beads are down, can walk wherever he wants. And that's what we saw there. GunTeR Warrior on the run, he's able to get out. Ares by himself walks into the back jungle looking towards a speed buff because he knows, all right, man, I win this fight. You got no beads and I'm Ares. What do you want from me?
He's trying again, though. In the back, he's waiting for that timing. He's going to allow JhoX to come into him,
3, 2, 1. Beads are available for JhoX now.
He's going to die?
He's just going to die. Oh, is there a blink on Ares?
Yes, but he doesn't have the ultimate for the damage, unfortunately, that time. I thought he was going to try to contest a speed buff, which is why he was rotating there, but instead, just going to force JhoX to back, steal away his back camps. It's not a kill, but it's still enough of a technical kill that you can get something out of it.
Albmighty. I'll be pulling. Half HP on the guy. 3 players surrounding him. And, well, down goes the king. Unceremoniously 0-2-0. Arial Arise paying a lot of attention to this King Arthur with the right players as well. Love the choice of the Ares into the King Arthur and being able to cripple him out.
Good play from GunTeR Warrior, jumping just before getting knocked up from that Hera ultimate. He could have looked for an offensive play for the Impale into the Desert Fury, but instead thinking otherwise. And unfortunately for Albmighty, he didn't have the offensive stance ultimate. He only had the Sundering Strike.
Cold Fury pulled, then leashed. Raidunw makes a rotation and scares JhoX just a little bit. Early in the game, though, a very similar tale to game number 1. Kind of harrowing end for AA. Just about 2,000 gold in the lead, maybe a little bit more, give or take, wave to wave. Most of that just from successful invades from SARPEII. They jungle Ares, which, again, Get used to see it. This is going to be a standard pick.
Working out more in the early game for Arial Arise. It was MV3 in game 1 that had the kill lead, but they were struggling in the Totem of Coup department. This time, Arial has both. They're winning in kills, they're winning in Totem of Coups. That's why they've been able to build a little bit of this lead, but they haven't been able to get multiple kills. It's been like one pick here, one pick there, and as the game progresses, it'll be a lot easier to take advantage of the Gold Fury once they do get these multi-kills. The team fighting power out of Arial Arise feels more like individual picks with their composition.
Kino not going to be the subject of that individual pick. Dragon King did have the pull. Loved the Nike play from DKGA game number 1. Really good stuff. Full ultimate commit here in the mid lane as Kino finds himself in trouble. JhoX is unable to make it work. Beads are good for the moment. He does watch his mid laner fall down. SARPEII taking way too much damage, but a big save by Dragon King. Jump up and down, but this is all MV3. Giant ultimate coming out from Ohi's Beast. That's enough to take down one. Kana makes the rotation from the short side and will jump on the carry. Albmighty here to shove player off, and it will be a 2-for-1 in Arial Arise's favor. But MV3 really looked like they grabbed the bull by the horns in the later part of that and kind of evened things out. If not, send a message.
A great pick onto RayoMid specifically because a Hera that gets behind, you don't want to deal with that late game damage, good aggression from Arial Arise, and they're not done yet. Beast does not have his ultimate.
It's going to be the Aegis chase, and Raiden's going to be met by the jungler. Over the wall comes Anhur, and that's going to be big damage. Almost killing 2. Ohi's Beast still alive. Ultimate from the Zhong already down, and Toli's loving it.
That laugh, that little giggle laugh out of the Zhong. There's not too many laughs that tickle me, but that one specifically really gets me.
I love that too. Don't sit there and spam taunt and mess up the enemy. One single laugh, one taunt.
That's all you need.
That drives it home. It's like, haha, we done did it. Gold Fury, where they're trying to do it. Arial Arise do just that. Terra watches. Nothing for her to really do there. And that's going to be another move. Arial Arise up 4,000.
Very difficult to try to steal as a level 8 Terra. Very difficult to survive as a level 8 Terra against a level 14 Zhong and a level 10 Ares. GunTeR Warrior turning that one around.
Around the mulberry bush. Drops the pillar and kites Hera's boy and takes him down, takes her down, leaves Argus up. That was a fun play.
That's the difference between the early to mid game Anhur versus the late game focus out of a Chernobog. GunTeR very comfortable, it feels, on the Anhur. Definitely helps that RayoMid died a couple times earlier this game as well to get that level deficit going.
This is just a better selection. If I were to take a shot in the dark, and this is a hypothetical, so please don't go through, send me a large DM. It seems like the Anhur has just played more than the Chernobog. The Chernobog, when you watch Chernobog players, they're similar to Giannis players in where they position. They're always near a wall. They're never really away from where they can dodge in and out. And I didn't see that out of GunTeR. It was consistently in the wrong spot, consistently getting picked off and ganked. Raiden might suffer the same fate here. Ultimate's good. Stunned out 2. Exorcism takes out 1. Basic attacks will finish. But JhoX has to run away. The 2v1 goes in the direction of Arial Arise. Blinks forward. Raiden takes down 1. And on the backside, could wait for the other.
The Rising Dawn actually plucked the bird out of the sky. GunTeR even finding a kill in the mid lane. A deicide in 14 minutes into the game. Arial Arise even forcing MV3 to considering surrendering.
Those are some of my favorite moments there, is when a deicide happens outside of the team fight. Your mid laner won the 1v1, your solo laner won the 1v1, your dual lane got ganked and won the 2v1, and now you're just like, all right, boys, we're the best on the battlefield. We're going to pick up this fire giant and a tier 1 tower. Kino will be able to say what up.
I wanted to touch on your subject, unless Kino can steal this somehow.
The pull.
Hey, all right, they do confirm it. They're probably going to kill Kino as well if they wanted to chase him down. But to touch on your subject that you were talking about, the Anhur versus the Chernobog selection for GunTeR, it also comes down to the matchup. I don't think Chernobog has that great of a matchup against the Skadi, also Hunbat's jungle, as opposed to this game where Anhur can survive, I think, a lot easier as opposed to the Chernobog. You can
Oh, yeah.
prevent the Hera knockup with your own ultimate. You can even jump away. It's very telegraphed when Argus is coming from the sky.
I loved the play he made with the pillar that I mentioned before. That's that level of execution that we just didn't see neat plays like that on the Chernobog, where, you know, glass half full, glass half empty. I could sit here and say, well, the Chernobog's not practiced. Or I could sit here and say, wow, the Anhur's really shining. And I'm going to do the latter, because this is, GunTeR is contributing here, and this is a big deal. 5-0-2 here for the mid lane carry, which didn't really do much yesterday, or excuse me, in game number 1. And so to see that transformation, that's that extra level. That's the difference between MV3 being down 4K and able to make that Fire Giant kill and then the win, and MV3 being down almost 10K. That difference is a mid lane.
I agree, but the thing was, last game, Arial Arise, despite all those deaths onto GunTeR, they took advantage of those deaths. They made sure that they would trade him out or even get a better end of that trade. So it's not as though his deaths were in vain, whereas this game, RayoMid dying, they're not getting much out of his deaths, unfortunately. Arial Arise have been controlling every aspect of this game, every lane to boot.
RayoMid has not had the same impact here. MV3 only with 2 kills. Louis Beast has 1 and an assist on the other one. And RayoMid has the other. So only 2 kills to their name. They trail by a whole lot. Arial Arise, 11 kills, MV3 senior. As I said before, almost 10,000 gold up as well. Oni Fury is going to come up soon. And I would advise the team to do that. Take this tier 2 tower on the left side, fall back to the Oni Fury, back to base, and then do it all again. Nobody cares about this Pyro. Don't die for this.
MV3 are really good about like splitting the map though when they are behind. Like last game it was actually RayoMid split pushing the left side. This time around it's going to be JhoX split pushing the right. Pyromancer was not going to be started because they want to try to kill GunTeR here.
Yeah, GunTeR is going to be in trouble. Tier 2 tower on the left side already goes down. GunTeR jumps over the wall for safety and finds himself invading. And another win for the AA.
JhoX split pushing the right side, getting a tier 2 for himself, forces the back from SARPEII, inevitably delaying the Phoenix sieging push from Arial Arise. Not sure if they would have done it anyway. They probably wanted to play a little bit safely there, but SARPEII needs to find a way out of this sticky situation.
3 beads is the knockup from the ultimate out of Susano, goes to the pull and gets 2 of them. Chases the ultimate out of the carry. 3 chains are good, and the flames are going to be strong.
No
Good
way.
get trade. Won't be able to do that, but oh my JhoX.
He likes
How
his
close?
odds.
How close was that?
He likes his odds apparently as he was backing to base. Says that was a risky idea to not use those purification beats to allow yourself to get stunned by the no escape. But it makes sense. I mean, if you're not going to get the kill in a 3-on-1, 4-on-1, and you have to use defensive relics, you're not going to defend your tier 2 towers or your phoenixes. So smart, calculating decision there. SARPEII a little bit too far forward without the safety of any towers to fall behind, but can't really blame him when your team has Fire Giant, you're trying to control the map.
Love the build coming out from SARPEII. This is where we're going to see it start to shift. The first 3 items in this Jungle Ares build are kind of set in stone. We noted that the cooldown boots were a little bit different, but you know, that's not wrong, it's different. But the Jade Crown and the Void Stone are kind of standard. Not only are they going to assist you doing what your job is to kind of do, which is this hybrid character being a guardian of the jungle, also Ares' passive is going to give you free damage for those auras. And then after that, as we get into the late game, your damage is obviously still relevant, because he almost trades out, but you're not building a Rod of Tahuti necessarily. You still want to be a little bit more utility oriented. So the Pridwin, 20% that's going to round out your full CDR with this build particularly. This is a great moment here for SARPEII, where he's got max CDR, but he's still able to walk an individual player down with his chains and flames if need be. SARPEII is definitely in the wheelhouse right now.
And it synergizes with his bolster defenses. As long as he pops that second ability before the ultimate at max rank, he's going to get 40 protections each, so totaling 80 total protections for 80 extra health shields, and that's going to calculate for extra damage. Once that shield does expire, we're going to see it now.
There's a pull one more time, pull into the stun, into the secondary stun. Slow is good as well. The chains. He'll chase out Albmighty. Supports here on the left side. JhoX waiting for the flank.
Trading out ultimate for ultimate there. I like this because Kino doesn't have the same amount of cooldown reduction compared to SARPEII to try to trade that defensive ultimate out every time Arial is going to be looking for the aggression. And they're even going to force MV3's hand to play defense, but they're not biting.
Not at all. oExnnahh is here. Kino will be kept at a distance. Fire Giant down to 25%, and that should be it. Nobody coming to contest right now. 21 minutes in, Fire Giant goes down. Arial Arise up 11,000 gold here, looking for the end. The right side will be their lane of choice. And this should bring us to a game 3, Tully.
It really should, honestly. This kind of a lead. I don't see how MV3 could hold this unless there's a 5-man polymorph coming through from RayoMid with a 5 additional Argus knockup. That could be the key to success, but Arial Arise, they're looking for the blink engage.
Leading the charge. SARPEII going in first. He's going to grab one. Target is the support. Albmighty is pulled, pushed, pinned, and dead. Raidunw puts number 14 up there. oExnnahh uses the ultimate defensively and finds himself back in the fountain, but on his own terms. It's a 4-on-5. Arial Arise still pushing forward in the back line. It's oCxnnahh by himself, surrounded by 4 different players. The Phoenix is going to go down. Beautiful zoning by the Osiris. Nice play, everybody in their position.
Good discipline from Arial to back off after that one only pick, only one Phoenix on top of it. No minions to really help accelerate the deconstruction of the Titans, so they're just gonna spend all that gold in hand, and it's still very early in the game as well. It's like only 22.5 minutes, so it doesn't surprise me that they're just going to be patient with it, sitting on still 5 items, having a few starter items to have to exchange for some better goods, maybe even get this Primal Fury coming up.
Mid or left lane?
I would prefer left lane because that's the complete opposite from the Phoenix that you just stripped away. So if somebody is defending all those fire minions, which will inevitably reach that Phoenix that you have to defend the Titan from, it makes that rotation longer for the defensive player to go all the way back to the left side of the map. And Arial are going to be thinking about that during their next siege.
Also the furthest away from the traditional thought process is that it's the furthest away from the Fire Giant. But you're so far away from the Fire Giant respawning, just picking it up now. SARPEII gets a pull. Kino one more time will be just eliminated. 4 deaths here for the Terra. Hard for her to get involved. Low player damage. You're a Guardian, sure, but the damage added from the Terra ultimate is usually worth talking about. Knockup's abound as Arial Arise pushing to the left side. Here's Raidunw activating the ultimate, zoning everybody and killing one. RayoMid goes down. The left bird does as well. JhoX with some healing from the fountain. Albmighty rooted and booted. We'll see you later. A double kill for the Conquistador. And as they look towards the Titan, it's all over. Frenzy is popped. Half HP already. Desert's Fury. Game 3.
24 minutes in. This game did not look as even compared to the last one. I think the difference in the mid play from RayoMid to go from a Skadi to a Hera was a very drastic change that did not work out for them.
The other side as well, the Chernobog not as powerful as what we saw out of the Anhur from GunTeR. Just a much better performance this time all around for the guys on that side of the coin.
Zhong also being able to just buy so much time, surviving many ganks on the left side of the map. It didn't really allow the Susano much momentum to start off the game.
We're tied at 2. After this, we'll be back with the rubber match.
iKnahh, powering the control room for the SMITE Console League.
I knew you weren't going to go anywhere. Welcome back to the SMITE Console League. My name is Finch once again, and we have ourselves a Game 3 in the cards. To help me break it all down, Taco is still right here next to me. And a big surprise, drafting pressure in all 5 lanes helps you win games, it turns out.
It turns out that if you just have full control of the map from a minute 0, well, then it's kind of difficult for Mavericks to ever have any hopes of making a comeback on that one. It was just a little bit of a beatdown. I don't really know how else to pitch it to you guys, but I think that it all starts with Arial Arise kind of recognizing the fact that with their early game dominance, they might as well make the rotations so that it could actually accentuate and really just let their composition take off.
That's a great point. They were active across the entire map. In particular, SARPEII was on that Ares, making sure he was a part of every fight possible. To be honest, though, I don't know that GunTeR needed much help on the Anhur in terms of getting any of that stuff started. Hard to believe that Anhur could outbox the Hera, especially early on. They are who we thought they were and went how we expected.
I think the main problem with that matchup is that even through Argus, the Desert Fury is still going to be able to pinpoint and find Hera, and so there just wasn't enough survivability, and that's something that Mavericks could be looking to switch around in Game 3 here. Now that it's all kind of on the line, Mavericks might be looking to maybe establish themselves at least 1 or 2 lanes with clear pressure.
Well, whatever Raidunw's going to do, it won't be Zhong. That's been banned away by MV3 this time. They don't want to deal with it again. The set continues to be banned, as well as the Isis and the Kronos. Now we got to wonder about the Skadi. Remember, that was a bit of a difference maker when it made it through, and it's up to Arial to ban it, or else MV3 will likely snap pick it.
Arial, though, does have a heavy tendency to want to look towards gods like the Jormungandr and the Merlin, trying to keep some of that objective damage at bay, but I'm not sold on this one, Finch. I think that Skadi is going to be a top priority here for Mavericks. But on the off chance that Mavericks don't go for it, Thor is still waiting on the horizon.
Erlang Shen is another strong one that's not been banned that I would love to pick up if I were in either of these players' shoes.
Skadi Erlang?
Skadi Erlang feels pretty darn good to me if you're on the side of Arial. But you're right, man. Arial has been prioritizing this Jormungandr. This is clearly something that has worked for them. It is strong right now as well, too. Certainly one worth picking up. It's just that Erlang Shen and Skadi, I mean, that kind of hits me right here.
I think it's a little interesting to see Arial actually offer the Anhur over the Skadi. I really feel like even a Jormungandr and the Skadi pickup would have been really sweet, just because it would have taken that option away from Mavericks. And now, since Arial lose out on the chance to strip that pick away, Mavericks are just going to default to it. And seeing Thor and Skadi together on the same team, Finch, that is so much early game prominence already.
Yeah, once they hit level 5, they've got the stun from Anvil of Dawn, the stun from the wall, the root that comes out from Skadi Ultimate as well, and then also you could slide around the ice, Calder bonus damage. That's a lot. I mean, if it is the mid-jungle combo, that feels like almost a guaranteed kill depending on how Arial plays. So MV3 might have a power play already.
Normally, I'd be a pretty big fan of this Khepri pickup because I think that Khepri is fantastic for preventing gods like Skadi from having all that single target focus, but I'm actually a little bit concerned here that this could in turn actually just make Khepri the early game focus for Mavericks, prevent him from having any sort of serious impact with that Scarab's Blessing by just forcing it out of him before the fight even begins, and that's something that Thor can definitely do with that semi-global presence out of Anvil of Dawn.
But already we're seeing two mentalities clash here, Taco. It's MV3 who prioritized all their damage. They've got a lot of it. And then it's Arial who prioritized their front line. And it does give them a decent amount of control already. The Jormungandr can be a great disruptor. As you mentioned, the Khepri will stop some of that single target burst with the Scarab's Blessing, unless it is on him, in which case he might be in trouble. And now they're going to grab some more damage by adding the new wall.
Normally I'd be a bigger fan of this Jormungandr for his disruption features, but my issue is that a Soul is great for looking towards disengage away from that Jormungandr because of the disapparate. I think even Stellar Burst and Supernova all provide decent enough AoE damage that if you're trying to follow up in the Jormungandr knockups, it could be difficult for Arial Arise to kind of work their way into the team fight for where the jungle fight may be breaking out. Plus that Fear No Evil with the Athena, there's a lot of solid crowd control that really allows for constant reinitiation from Mavericks. That's what I'm really looking towards. It's the ability for them to just continuously spam into Arial.
That is a ton of control. If you can hit the Khepri and the one that you actually want to kill at the same time with the Fear No Evil, then there's no way for him to Scarab's Blessing him. Let's find out who it is that's going into the solo lane, though, with Thor and Batz. We'll let Tom take it from here.
It's the Thor.
Oh, like the way we're kind of doing the player reveal. It's Thor. Who's that god? It's Thor.
What are you talking?
I wasn't
Thor
sure
will
where
be-
you were going with this. Like, I know you were answering Finch's question, but was there more to it?
No. Welcome back to the broadcast, folks. Tom and Anatoly here in the booth for you. We're starting this one off hot. Thor will be in the solo lane, one of my favorite kind of weird offshoots. Thor recently getting some love. Same character, just a little bit more flashy, literally, lightning. But he'll be able to play over there in the solo lane. Clear is good with the hammer. And OhMyJhox will be making the rotations on the Jungle Monkey.
I like this idea, though. Hunbat's in the solo lane. This is in Season 2. And the only person playing it back then was Wolfie anyway. Didn't really make too much sense then. Doesn't really make too much sense now.
Well, the idea is that, you know, fear no evil.
Trying to fear a little bit of evil from that roots into the
Kino's
pole,
good.
but
The
instead,
dash is good.
turnaround play. RayoMid only level 1.
True. That's true.
But yeah, like, Thor does so much damage. It's, like, obnoxious.
Has a little bit more in the way of setup potential as well. Remember, once upon a time, Thor was a warrior.
Yes.
So the idea, you know, range initiation of the ultimate, obviously the wall. A lot of good looks there. You mentioned the damage. That's certainly a big part of why we see Thor coming out here.
The thing is, you don't want to take all that minion damage as well, as Albmighty has been doing.
Again. Oh! Nice little, the short hammer.
Yeah, still took the damage, but just
Short
not
hop.
enough coming out of Kana. Enough to bully out this Thor, though, forcing a lot of health potions very early in the laning phase. It might have to be a premature bat from Albmighty.
Could be. Kind of really pushing this lead left side. We're seeing an invade coming out from Arial Arise. Kino's still healthy, though. The opposite could be said for Mr. Almighty. Tough stuff here in the solo lane. I expect that to be the kind of case there for how Kana's going to be handling this. A lot of pressure coming out from that Jormungandr until the Thor kind of hits that one shot in the wave with the hammer strike.
Yeah, it depends on what direction he wants to go. If he wants to look for poke, you're probably bettering off leveling the hammer, but if you're looking to clear the wave, you still want to kind of max out your 3 of how short of a cooldown it is with 8 seconds now, with Gladiator Shield as well going down to about 7.2. Not a bad idea as well. The problem is that he took so much damage in the early laning phase by trying to group up the minions that now he's not even in a position of power to control that lane. It's up to Kana now that can easily AoE clear and just go from there.
Is there a spot where the Thor is going to be able to take over? Like when we see the Amaterasu, she gets stepped on to level 8 or 9.
Yeah.
Is there a moment that Thor has that?
About like level 6 or 7, not too late.
Big taunt. Sorry to cut you off. I thought we'd see more there.
Yeah, and I say 6 or 7 is because that's when you're going to hit that Gladiator Shield and go back in after you use the teleport. That extra power going to go a long way. Kind of will take a little bit of damage once that item is completed, but he's still sitting on a couple of health potions outside of his health chalice to prepare for that moment.
Nice job by Almighty, keeping his opponent in lane. It's funny, you had noted the excessive use of the health potions early on, and that might force Thor into going back early. It's actually the World Serpent that's heading back to base earlier. Jormungandr back already.
Well, this
Took
was
the first back.
This was purposely done because he had 2 health potions in his inventory still, so he could have stayed if he wanted to, but it was a timing window of finishing off Shoes of the Mad Guy. He wants that power spike play before Albmighty comes in with his Gladiator Shield, and now Kana has the window of the teleport differential, so he knows, all right, my teleport is 1 wave sooner than my opponent's, and he can play off of that, and he can communicate that.
Those are the big plays. Dragon King, those are not the big plays. Missing the grab there, so RayoMid will survive. A nice knockback again from GunTeR Warrior, who again is on the Anhur. Nice job there. Oh, perfectly set up. The grab is good. Miscommunication though, and perhaps a bigger play from Jhox. Raid from the left side gets 1. Dragon King could fall,
no.
but here comes help from SARPEII on the Fistman, and down he goes thanks to the Ravana.
All of a sudden, we go from 0 to 0 to 3, make that 4 kills, at least getting traded out as Albmighty in the solo lane within 5 minutes of play. RayoMid was a sitting duck there, a Skadi player without beads. an instant kill every time. Albmighty using that ultimate. I think he was rotating to the mid lane, went up to the sky, then all of a sudden decided to switch into the solo lane.
I think that was the play as well. I mean, watching Mighty grab that kill, that was important because MV3 just kind of got obliterated there. SARPEII, very different character from the Ares. Well, very different in the sense that Ares is looking to be a teamfight setup man with the ultimate, and SARPEII more or less a dive bomb character. But in the early game, I guess they're both early game monsters, right? So SARPEII makes the wraparound. DragonKing going to be taken care of as well. A brief moment of reprieve, excuse me. But Jox gets the last hit. And so SARPEII, huge impact there, grabbing 1 kill and 1 assist in the mid lane.
It's a similar style, like you mentioned, not in the sense that you're going to be forcing multiple purification beats,
Right.
but the flanking opportunities is quite there. The damage potential is certainly there.
You look to flank and slow and walk down. Jox, on the other hand, just jumps on top. But yeah, SARPEII's job is to just walk somebody down. Right now, he's in trouble. Flip kick, the ultimate from the Batz. SARPEII will leave on his own terms. Nice job there.
Just more safety measures compared to the Ares early game, right? Like late game Ares relies on those bolster defenses for the 40 protections each, whereas every stage of the game, Robin can use that overhead kick.
Yep.
Offensively, defensively, being able to really make it difficult for your opponents to read your style of how you want to play this game, as RayoMid playing the Skadi could easily get dove. I think that's the one target that MV3 needs to protect throughout the course of this game is their Skadi mid. The first game, he was behind a couple of levels from SARPEII's Ares ganks. It could be a similar case here when he already has 1 death this game.
Exactly. Ares is going to look to ult you and pull you out of position and then chain you so you can't get away. SARPEII is going to look to jump on top of you and then slow you so you can't get away. Or just jump on you so you can't get away. Nice play there from SARPEII, who's in trouble now. The rotation from Kino could confirm the will. Taunt into the damage, and down goes the Ravana jungler. 2-1-1 so far. And still opens the door for Kana to look for the blue buff invade as GunTeR Warrior walking up the avenue. Perfect pillar impale, assisted by the support into the ultimate. Beautiful play. You gotta love that, folks.
Albmighty landing right on top, though. Now going on to 2 while Jox is keeping GunTeR at bay. Jump for jump, forcing out the disengage, missing out the impale, but the slows are really good. But the flank coming through.
Albmighty, that's what the Thor does. The range stun and the hammer out of nowhere. Surprise, it's me.
The okie-doke as well. It's so difficult to really pay attention when you have the blood in your eyes, but at this level of gameplay, you have to be able to separate the 1v1 kill potential from, all right, what's going on my back end? There's a 1v2, which I could be assisting, and that could have been easily a 3-on-1 onto the Thor, but instead, the 1v1 becomes a 1v2 now that GunTeR couldn't handle, especially after missing that impale.
Brief pause in the action. We're going to get right into it in just a matter of moments, but it's about 24-23 as far as the goal is concerned. Nice and tied up here. We'll jump right back in it. Gold leaning, a little bit in the way of Arial Arise, who did have their way in game number 2. Game number 1, I mean, honestly, kind of had it there too. Just lost that one team fight around the Fire Giant that wound up tilting everything in the other way. So here in game number 3, trying to figure out how to clean this one up. The Nuwa is going to be the target. And she goes into that ultimate. Nice to force the Nuwa ult on your own terms. Whenever you are playing against a Nuwa, I like to internalize who's going to miss, but Rayo will still die. 6 kills.
No Mystic Rush necessary for that kill. This is the problem with playing an immobile god in the mid lane, whether it's a mage or even a hunter. You use that permafrost for mobility, but not really enough once you're rooted into place. Still beats on cooldown for another 30 seconds. RayoMid is struggling on the Skadi.
It's been tough. It's certainly been tough here for RayoMid. He looked nicer in game number 1, I think, overall on the Skadi. Big impact there. This time around, Going to be MV3 defending their own jungle. They're going to go forward as well as Zhong drops the ultimate, but it's saved by DKJ. Now on the backside, there's a huge ultimate from the Thor. SARPEII hanging on by a thread, and Thor can't catch up. Beast looking for one though, and Raidunw, the Nuwa, on the run. Big stun coming out, and Rayo will take care of the mid lane hunter. And a taunt from Kino will save her own carry. Kana on the run. It looks like that be that. Rayo's here and has the Athena ultimate.
Here comes the defender of Olympus, going for the dash on top of it. An extra 2 kills on top of their 1, looking for a 3rd. He goes into the tier 2.
Oh, that's a misplay coming out from that Thor. Down he goes. SARPEII with the punish, and Kana with the double punish. 1 versus 3, taking out 2. Rayo trying to make it happen. Rough stuff, though. Eventually, Rayo on the good side, but
that was a 1-for-0 that became a 4-for-3. But at least MV3 do walk away with a tier 1 tower on the left-hand side. But I don't know. That was a little disturbing to see how that unfolded. The tier 2 tower siege against a Ravana. Like, if it was any other god, maybe. Just maybe. But this early on, as a level 10 Thor, there's no physical defenses outside of your Warrior's Blessing. You take too much damage from investing that time commitment.
that was rough because, oh man, toss out the wall, misses it. Toss out the hammer, misses it. And if the hammer hits, it's a kill. We've all done it in our casual and our ranked games. But in a competitive environment, you'd like to think there's a different switch. I think that's just showing that human element where you're like, I missed, I gotta get him.
His mindset was that no matter what happens, I'm going in.
Exactly.
I think at that point.
Like, he's dead, I missed my stuff, he's still dead.
Yeah.
And SARPEII's like, what is you doing?
Yeah, like,
and just kind of fixed that thing.
It's like, are you okay?
Also here, 2-on-4. Ultimate from the Anhur, right down the middle. That's 2 for the Anhur. Technically splits it with the jungle, but I give it all to GunTeR. Nice protection. There's help. Jhox forced out. Nuwa from the backboard. Rayo in trouble as well. Slowed, stunned, and everything in between. GunTeR with the wraparound. One basic will do it.
I'll take one position.
The bugger got the kill. F that.
GunTeR a little bit mad. But that's good play. GunTeR with 1 basic gets that kill, but GunTeR dies to 1 basic. Dragon King just shows up and goes, sure, 100% of the time you stay alive if I take this kill from you. 90% of the time you stay alive, but there's that 10% where you don't. And as a support player, your job is to keep your carries alive 100%. Playing the odds, I like the call from DKJ. I think it's the right move.
Albmighty gonna attempt to stop this, but a good disengage from the likes of Arial Arise and a 1v1 SARPEII, not winning that one for a little bit. Gold Fury less than half health.
Ultimate's not available for anybody on the side of the MV3, but it's enough to get Almighty 2 kills even without it. Gold Fury by a hair, but MV3 don't take advantage. Instead, they're looking for the kills after the fact. Now they are. Soul's on top. That's going to be a Gold Fury in the direction of MV3, stolen from Arial Arise. You know, totally, I was going to say that mistake earlier at 11 minutes in the top left of the jungle was akin to Arial Arise giving up the Fire Giant in game number 1, but the difference being it was at 11 minutes. This play, again, also akin to that Fire Giant play, but again, lucky for them and their fans, it's only at 13 minutes. Now we've tied again, MV3 with a little bit of a lead, just barely over 1,000. The 3rd time that mistake happens, nice trade out. That's MV3's lead.
We don't see that often. We don't see that very often in a 1-for-1 where no one else was really a part of those kills. It's funny, if Dragon King was there a little bit earlier, maybe the shield from his passive would have actually saved him. I don't think his ultimate was up quite there in time. It was still coming off of
still like rising.
But sometimes you got to give up your life to defend the tier 1 tower, and I see the mindset from GunTeR, and I think he hit every single spear that was necessary.
Yes.
He misses one of those 8, he doesn't get the trade-off at all.
Another example of the frustration play. We saw one out of Albmighty and Dive the Tower. Both, that's GunTeR saying, one more basic.
Oh my goodness, the CC chains coming through. Good revive coming from Dragon King to keep his soul laner alive, but the setup from Kino, not only the right side of the map to force these backs, but around that Gold Fury, setting up beast on the Soul. The Soul did a lot of player damage in that one little exchange. Even though she's struggling in the player damage charts on the left side, that fight spoke otherwise. Also the distraction from Albmighty on the backside, keeping SARPEII busy as well around those left side mid camps. I think the way MV3 played the defense was more impressive than how they've been playing offense this entire set.
Absolutely agree with that. I think the same could be said about, you know, game number 1, defense via offense. You like the offensive play to take away the fire giant is a defensive mindset,
Yes.
right? Or it's an offensive mindset and a defensive play, excuse me. And so I got to agree, MV3 are doing a much better job of responding, whether it's with offense or defense, to Arial Arise and making their own play, which is, I mean, you played and coached at a high level. More often than not, that is incorrect strategy. That is the wrong thing to do, because if you're always responding at one point, your opponent's move will win the game and you won't have a chance to respond. But it's all working out here for MV3, mainly because, and I say this with respect to Arial Arise because they have been playing well, Arial Arise are guaranteed to give you mistakes.
That's true. And you're not always going to be in a winning position, so you will be challenged of how to play defense and how to disengage from a very angry SARPEII.
On the backside comes Albmighty as SARPEII jumps up forward. GunTeR Warrior in trouble, has the ultimate from DragonKing already available. Gonna wait it out. Perfectly timed. Albmighty gets the tower and the kill. And MV3 now up 2,000 gold, the beginning of a real lead here, folks. Left side tower forced down, no fire giant even. And the team will casually make their way from that left tier 2 into the mid lane. I'd like to see them look for a big team fight here.
Slow and calculating is going to be the game from MV3. There's not much of a window for them to really force the fire giant. They were thinking about how game 1, Ariel was a little too aggressive on the fire giant, so they didn't want to blow this lead that they had going. And funny the way GunTeR was kind of playing that exchange. When he was dead to right, that bubble coming through with a Scarab's Blessing from DragonKing, GunTeR was kind of playing like hot potato with himself. He's like throwing himself to others like, somebody hold me, please.
Kill me,
like, hold me.
And everybody is like, y'all hear something?
Not me.
There he is. That's exactly just. Anybody see,
He like took off his invisibility cloak.
hey, it's me. And then they all just like one-shot him. You love to see it. Mainly because it shows incredible amounts of discipline, I think, on the enemy team. It's real easy to just, especially with all these abilities that are, you know, Skadi has some AoE with the ultimate, right? OE's Beast is just launching stellar or supernovas out there. It's a big deal to kind of just wait, green light, and then go for it.
And the thing was, the jump was down from GunTeR, so they didn't even have to worry about him escaping either. He had no avenues of getting. The only way he gets out if the Ionis somehow gets into the game and gives him a portal of safety.
We, glittering wish. Little character from out of the game. RayoMid here, pushing down the Nuwa. The Nuwa will provide some damage, and pop. Aegis is good, avoids SARPEII, but here comes GunTeR. SARPEII with the last hit. Now looking for Beast, flip kick on cooldown. Runs away, no problem. One down, pretty much for nothing. RayoMid punished for his positioning.
I like the synergy. The Nuwa ultimate did plenty of damage. All of a sudden, SARPEII seeing, what was that, 30% health Skadi. Even if she's not alone, an easy target to lock down.
Absolute.
Despite losing a member, I think MV3 were trying to see if they could sneak away that Primal Fury. Arial Arise rising to the occasion.
You're looking for a fight?
Yeah, double taunts, setting it up.
I don't know if I love this, but JhoX is a perfect ultimate. Arial Arise still doesn't care. The monkey in trouble. Dashing forward, won't find the hug, but Kino in trouble, surrounded and grounded. SARPEII, kill number 7. I don't think it's luck, Toli. SARPEII has had a fantastic set.
Definitely has. Kino completely surrounded. That dash was intercepted. Albmighty used that hammer. Doesn't have an escape. Doesn't have an ultimate.
Doesn't have a root either. SARPEII able to miss that.
Is there a blink? No blink available for SARPEII to chase that one down. So I think Arial Arise just happy to get that objective and walk away clean.
Thor's annoying.
I feel amazing.
So Very tame way of putting it. He's been annoying, honestly. Like, even without these changes, I still think he was a great god to play.
Oh, absolutely. Thor is one of the characters that just has never really ranged stun, ranged semi-global ultimate stun. Shout outs to all my homies that remember when Tectonic Rift
Did damage.
did damage.
We don't talk about those days.
You really don't like those days. Getting ganked in
By
your
a
solo
Thor?
lane by Jing.
Oh, God.
Not on the Bacchus, though. Here comes SARPEII. That's what Robin does. Blink, hands, root, gone.
Yeah, Skadi's going to be gawny if they keep playing like that outside of the Tier 1 tower.
Love the build, too. You've got a little bit of the healing reduction for what Soul's doing and the lifesteal. Just kind of, don't forget, that's still 40-10. You're still getting some penetration and some power into the Shifter Shield, which is robbing the item. Extra damage until you take some damage, and then you're a little bit tankier. Rune Forge since everybody's slowed. You're able to blow players up. OhMyJhox turns it around. Raidunw goes down in trouble for Dragon King. JhoX is providing damage as well. Big play from the Thor. 2 players separated. Damage from GunTeR is big. But Thor not willing to go in.
I'm surprised because he had Defender of Olympus on
think he
top of
missed it.
himself.
That's
Maybe.
gotta be a miss.
It could have been, but now caught in a 1v3. Kana has nowhere to go.
Nowhere at all. This is going to be a dead Jormungandr. It's just a matter of if he'll trade. The
This
answer
is
is
a
no.
direct attack on the will of the people.
16 all. An MV3 lead by 4K.
These teams are very evenly matched, I would say, in terms of like how they've been trading out one for another. With the exception of the last game, I think like between games 1 and 3, it really goes to show that it's difficult for them to find an opening. They're like very aggressive both by nature, it feels, and this could be the downfall now of MV3 starting a very early fire.
We saw this, but the other way around last time. GunTeR is in trouble already, and RayoMid getting pulled, but the ultimate is available. SARPEII, ton of damage resistance. Jumps away as the Hunter and jumped on top of the jungler. Now Dragon King on the run, but Thor's right here, ready to land. Thor's right here, ready to land.
He went on the right side of the map to kill SARPEII instead, really maximizing his team's efforts, finding these 3 kills. They can now peacefully go back to the Fire Giants.
Nuwa does have the ultimate, so you got to be aware and you can't get too low. Jormungandr also exists, and here comes the big boy. 1 and 2 and 3 up top. 3 up top. Now here's the fight. Kino, he knocked up, but Soul's still on the Fire Giant, not gonna let go. Here comes JhoX, looking for the steal. Kino alive, but just barely. JhoX is alive, but just barely. The damage from the Fire Giant could have taken them out, but it won't. Kana takes out 1. Albmighty gets another off camera. And MV3 go for the Fire Giant. They get it.
They do.
And they only lose 1. That's actually a win.
Especially with it only being a support, not necessarily caring about all that damage. Sure, the sustain is nice, but you'd rather have the damage for your carries to get these objective towers and the Phoenixes. Albmighty was able to bounce back from that kill onto SARPEII to teleport into that solo tower to zone away the likes of Raidunw. And this is the important difference between getting that 500 gold or not, because yeah, the gold not really that meaningful at this stage of the game, but the ability to teleport to that tower for these Fire Giant sieges is a big factor.
Reassessment of the game state. MV3. This is the first lead that they've had, including the game they won. When they won the game, they were up 500 gold because of gold from the Titan Siege. They were down that game. They took a surprise fight and won the game walking up the left lane. MV3 up, as Doug showed us, what is that, 7,000, 6,000? Yeah, there it is, 6,400, 6,500 right in the middle. This is the first lead they've had. What do they do with it? That's the question.
And they need to keep using Kino's engagements. The way he's been able to taunt multiple people, by the way, with the follow-up from Beast on the Soul, with the long-range setup from Albmighty, who's trying to pop that Mad Guy's Cloak onto GunTeR. not able to do so. This is how they're going to siege. Use either the Thor or the Athena, but you don't want to leave RayoMid exposed on the back line. That's your damage dealer.
Albmighty is going to sneak out here on the right side, look for the ultimate. Land down, I think on the left, and force the Athena taunt up front. Athena starts to tank, and Almighty misses, but drops down the wall. SARPEII jumps forward to counteract, as does Kana, and SARPEII has already taken care of the taunter. Now here comes the big worm, and it's surrounded. Good pull on Almighty, but he's by himself and has to exit. JhoX looking toward the enemy jungler, in trouble himself. Big damage from the Anhur, and a great defensive set from Arial Arise. Kicks MV3 off the porch. Get out of here.
Everyone just left the backline completely exposed. They were getting zoned away by Raiden, or not by Raiden, sorry, by SARPEII instead. Raiden was the one getting focused in the back by Albmighty, but he actually missed.
Oh, man. SARPEII misses the 3 as well. And
like, all right.
JhoX, yeah, okay. See you later. MV3, so you're running a Thor solo lane, which is very interesting. Thor is, especially with this build, more akin to the warrior Thor of yesteryear than the assassin Thor that we like to see. But he's still absolutely playing like an assassin. He's diving the back line and protecting, and not protecting his teammates, which is a play style. It's not good or bad, it just is. That said, when you pick the Thor, you are looking to play that sort of play style, but you have to adjust. Kino is now initiating secondarily, but that leaves nobody to peel. Realistically, I want to see JhoX initiate, Albmighty be the secondary initiator / peel guy, and Kino just sit in the back and save Rayo. That's really what I think I want to see.
That would be the easiest way to approach it. It'll also have Albmighty engage without the Thor ultimate, just engage from the stun setup, engage from the hammer poke damage potential. You have Fire Giant buff, you out-sustain Arial Arise as long as they don't go back to their fountain. And when you have Kino die that early in the team fight, now you don't have those taunts. You don't have access to a lot of the potential to continue those fights for the setup plays, and the JhoX didn't really go in. He couldn't go in. Albmighty missed his ultimate. It was just sloppy all across the board.
This time JhoX goes in. The Frenzy's popped on the other side as well. JhoX has to run away, and Raiden with the ultimate takes care of Kino. Love this chase. Arial Arise with the foot on the pedal. Here comes help as Albmighty tries to peel, but Kana in trouble. Oh man, does a ton of damage to OE's Beast, but gets turned on. And now Albmighty rooted, surrounded, the hammer, not teleported. Beautiful timing. The pull into the push. And GunTeR gets kill number 3. But it's blackjack for Arial Arise off of the charge. Keep going. Get that tier 2.
RayoMid, though, there's a reason why he wasn't involved in that siege, or rather that team fight, because he's looking for the mid Phoenix potential. Kana getting the archers dead, couldn't get there in time. The body blocks, he needed to actually hit RayoMid there.
Yeah, this is not the best play from Kana. The mid Phoenix goes down, and the carry's going to look for the 1v1 versus the Titan.
That's a lot of damage.
That's not a lot. That's not enough, though.
It's not.
No ultimate available. One wave of minions would be enough, but doesn't have them.
He wanted to look for the chip damage to then allow the minions to come in and assist, but the rest of his teammates couldn't stop the backs. Raiden now could get potentially pinched with Rayo coming from the north side.
He's going to come down here and there's trouble. Raiden surrounded and get out 22.
Easy kill
from Maverick.
So Kana, I see the mindset of what he wanted to do by killing the archers there, but that was the incorrect play. What he needed to do was actually body block that Phoenix shots that was coming in to keep the Phoenix alive, and then to get aggro at the same time, because by getting aggro of the archers, that's like another way of just killing them and saving your Phoenix anyway. They're not dealing damage to your Titan, so you'll be A-okay.
Taunt onto SARPEII by his lonesome. Cannot be in this location right now. He stays aggressive. JhoX is going to drop the ultimate. SARPEII kicks it, still taken down. Body blocks to oblivion. RayoMid takes out 2. Kana's in trouble as well. It's 3 for the mid lane carry. MV3 looking strong.
No matter how poorly RayoMid has done in the early game, his late game cannot be denied. The decisions that he's made map objectively has been subpar First game, split push on the left side. Game 3, split pushing in the mid lane, finding a kill, and now setting his team up for the set victory.
Push it to the limit. Albmighty dives the Titan. Frenzy is popped. Ultimates abound. Game number 3 and the whole damn set goes to MV3.
30 minutes even on the clock. A great performance from MV3. Like you mentioned, Tom, it was their very first lead ever in this entire set, despite the comeback in that game number 1.
Well played here by MV3. As we said, able to capitalize off of the mistakes that we saw across the way. But, I mean, as long as you take away the win, that's what I'm looking at. And a great performance. What I liked about that at the end was that they showed us that they can win. It's not just off of the mistakes. Give us the lead. We'll show you what we can do.
They really like that RayoMid with the Skadi middle. The Calder in that last fight specifically was just controlling so much space. Fighting in that corridor with under the permafrost, you're just asking for a bad time, unfortunately.
Well, that's one down. We've got 3 more exciting sets. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.